Hello, and welcome to the Cyber Hero Adventure Show. I'm your host, Gary Berman. Thanks so much for being what you do and who you are, and for being real-life unsung cyber heroes. We're so grateful. And that's really the mission of our show, to shine the light on the unsung cyber heroes who toil in anonymity to keep us safe at work and home, at school. Someone recently asked me kind of what was my motivation, or why did I do it? And most importantly, how did I learn about this stuff? Well, I'll show you an answer right here. Conferences. As a former victim of cybercrime, I pivoted from becoming a victim, because it's exhausting and unfortunately not too unique in the world, to becoming an advocate to try to do something good in the world and help. And our main mission is to, as I said, shine the light on great people like Heather Dahl. Hi, Heather. Welcome to the show.
Hi. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, we're really excited to see you as well, our audience is in for a real treat, because you have had just this extraordinary career and background, and from your energy and everything, it seems to me like you're just getting started.
Absolutely. I think that, as they say, the journey just begins, and we've only just started telling our story.
Yeah, indeed. And so maybe you can share with our audience if you allow me to use a comic-related term, your origin story. How did you get to this moment?
Right. Well, I started actually as a broadcast journalist, specifically focusing on radio and television. Spent most of my career actually covering politics, foreign affairs and defense issues, including being in Washington, D.C., reporting from Brussels, the EU and NATO, and also spending some time actually in Seattle, reporting with the public radio station there. But my career has always been about pictures and sounds. It's been about imagery. But the bottom line with journalism is you're telling complex stories. And so there came to be a point where I decided that for professional reasons, as a journalist, I wanted to learn more about technology, but I didn't just want to report about it. I truly wanted to learn about it from a holistic sense. And so I made the adjustment, and I moved over and took on a role at a great company called Newstar. And I was working with Chase Cunningham. He's now at Ericom, who I know is a guest on your show as well. We were working at the time, which was 2011, on developing threat intelligence solutions.
Wow.
And at the time I was there learning, doing a lot of research, and I'd worked with Chase on a number of presentations for conferences, right? Technology conferences. And he had a couple that had been highly successful, and I brought my skills as a TV and radio producer to his presentation, and he wanted to do another project, and he threw out the idea of a white paper. And the idea of writing a white paper on my own personal time had zero interest for me. Even as a journalist, I can write print stories, visual storytelling. And so a couple months went by, and I was spending some time with my nephew, who was at the time 4. And he was really, really busy fighting dragons at home. And which was great.
Well, one second. I assume you mean like metaphorical or imaginary dragons. It's not a problem you had where you lived.
Yeah, it was imaginary dragons.
Oh, good.
Very
Okay.
passionate about fighting imaginary dragons. He also liked to fight bad guys with his imaginary dragons, which is great to see someone with such passion for something. But as I explained to him, you might want to consider putting all that energy towards fighting the bad guys who live in cyberspace.
Good idea.
And fighting the worms that live in cyberspace and the Trojans. And he looked at me like I was off my rocker. He's like, there are no bad guys in cyberspace.
Aww.
Which, at 4, I can understand. He just didn't see bad guys living in his tablet. And I was like, oh boy, do we have a lesson to learn? The other part of it, too, was he did not feel literacy was important to his future. We were having challenges on him actually wanting to learn how to read.
Ah.
And I also had to think selfishly about his career and how he's going to support his aunt in her old age financially.
Wait, just to be clear, wait, how old was he again?
4.
Okay, so, boy, you're a good planner.
Yeah, yeah. And what I do know from being in the cyberspace is that the career potential and future earnings for Dragon Slayer is limited, and the for fighting cyber crimes and cybersecurity expertise is probably more advantageous. And so, on the way to the airport after that visit, I thought I was concerned about him actually learning how to read, and also thinking, well, how can I help teach him about what his aunt does at work all day,
Yeah,
right? Because that's what I did all day, was work on fighting bad guys in cyberspace. And so I came back from that trip and I was sitting at my desk and it hit me, and I called up Chase and I said, I have a project for us. It's not what you think, but I want to write comic books about fighting bad guys in cyberspace, and I know who my audience is. And so from that, Chase was all in, and the Sinja, standing for Cyber Ninjas, was created, and we started writing our first book.
We're if our producer can pop this up on the screen, we'll be able to show our audience the beautiful graphic novel, I would call it.
It's a graphic novel, and in fact, you can see our Sinja on the forefront. In the background is his sensei, his mentor, which was modeled off of a mentor that we were working with at New Star, Rodney Jaffe. And then he got his hex cube. They're ready to fight, and this, every warrior needs the swords, but that actually is very reminiscent of my nephew. In fact, he has the same hairstyle. So that the character in the first book, Grant Wiley, is namesake for my.
Well, I have to tell you, we have that idea very much in common to immortalize, real people in superhero comics, and it turns out that all of us have an inner child, and then life happens. And so, an important part of why it's so great to have you, on the show today, and our mission is to distill complicated, technology information into something that kind of everyone can get their heads around at least a little bit.
Exactly. And when we started this, we wanted something that just was over the top in its visual style that would capture the interest of a 5-year-old boy. Because at this point, my nephew's 5. We would look at it, and even if they did not know how to read, the images captured them. They got a sense that everything in cyberspace was not as safe as it seemed, right? But for the more advanced readers, like your 10, 13-year-olds, those who are really into the graphic novel space, they would read it and get their very first introduction into the terminology that we use in this space. In fact, both books contain glossaries because we write based on actual terminology we use in this space, and we incorporate it. So even if you don't know exactly what the word means in the context of the narrative, you do have a sense of the role, or whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
And then at the end you can read. But what came out of it was actually not what we expected. Our first reviews on Amazon were very much along the lines of, I bought this book for my child. I learned so much reading it to them.
Yes.
And so what we discovered was, while we first thought our audience was ages 5 to 13, what we learned was the book was for kids of all ages.
Yeah, and to build on that even a little bit further, in our experience of the comics that we've created, they're for adults as well.
Right.
And we actually had kind of the reverse experience, but the same result, in that our intention originally was to create something to help enterprises or SMBs, in the B2B sector or the government, just for basic cyber hygiene because we wanted to be like the opposite of death by PowerPoint. And so I'll never forget at Black Hat a couple of years ago, this very senior guy, government official from the FBI, came up to me and said, Gary, we really love your comics, and my son was wondering if you could autograph it. And I had almost like tears of gratitude. I said, are you kidding? You read it with your kids? Because ours was just the opposite experience, yet came up with the same outcome.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. It made me happy that we were educating people of all generations. But the other part was that the book was bringing generations together and experiencing it together. And it did create the outcome of it was very different. The other part of it that we noticed was at the time when we started writing these books is you looked at the cyber education materials targeted towards kids. And, our perspective on the first audience that we were aiming for was that young 5 to 10-year-old boy, right? Our second book is aimed for girls. So that's Joe Alita.
Oh, good.
Book, right?
Yes.
So, and the reason people say, this was a passion project to begin with for my nephew. And that's why you started out the story with Grant Wiley. But for those ladies who are saying, why didn't you start with the female protagonist first? That would have messed up the story. And there's a very interesting twist in why we had to open with Grant Wiley as our first character. But going back to my point was the cyber education materials at the time, they just weren't cool. There was no way. First of all, if I'm young and I'm trying to learn good cyber hygiene, which that sounds awful if you're 5 and you don't even want to wash your hands. Like, why would you want to learn hygiene? But you're looking at the imagery and, a space saucer, like, talk about cliche. Or they were like bunnies and rainbows to tell a story of cyber. I'm like, I don't think that's what cyberspace looks like.
Oh.
But even so, what I really wanted to do is capture the imagination of young children. And it was like either the people creating the content just had to create something. So like, well, we're going to put some rainbows on it. Or B, the budget was so small, they were just pulling whatever clip art they could and sticking it on. And there was nothing inspiring about the materials that were being given to kids at the time. It was like a company got some corporate social responsibility budget and it was small. And they're like, well, we just have to do something to help the kids. Let's go do something on bare minimum budget with some clip art and then say, look, we succeeded with our CSR budget. We published some kids' educational materials. My question is, well, how many of the kids actually enjoyed reading that if we read it? Right. And so our goal was, how can you inspire kids to learn about cyberspace, but then make a commitment to change how they live their digital lives? And then our ultimate goal was that they would pursue careers in the digital world.
Yeah, indeed. And a little bit later in the show, I'll show a brief video. This is not something we were planning, so I hope we can get this up. But I was really, kind of honored to give a graduation speech, if you will, for high school seniors who were matriculating into some type of career in cybersecurity. And I was invited by NIST. To do that. So, of course, I said yes, and we'll see if we can show the video a little bit. It's a very, very interesting take on how to make cybersecurity cool, because cybersecurity, well, exactly what you just said.
And the main thing is you can't start at high school. It's too late. You have to start making these careers an option when you're considering whether they're going to be a fireman or whether they're going to be astronaut, or they need to start understanding these are careers when they are 4 and 5. And so it's constantly in their mind. If you're coming in at 15 or 16 and saying, oh, there's these cool cyber careers, it's too late.
Wow, that's
And it takes
interesting.
a lot more convincing, but it needs to be put on the same level as, options that young kids immediately think of when they grow up.
Wow, that's an incredibly interesting insight. We seem to have some breaking news here. Let's see if we can catch that. You want to read that, Heather? I don't have my glasses here.
Breaking news, the cybersecurity community is pivoting from FUD to fun.
Ah, okay. Well, let's unpack that a little bit by inviting our next guest, Mintars Story. Hi, Mintar. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. She's joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel. So thanks for staying up so late.
Sure thing. Happy to be here.
So it's a perfect segue. We realize that in this whole community, in this digital universe, there is much to be afraid of and uncertain about and doubtful about, for sure. And this industry has used that to describe itself, to sell its services, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I think people have covered that very well. But what we have not done, which is part of our mission, is to be the tip of the spear to kind of think of this whole community as this giant aircraft carrier where the contours move, kind of really slowly, like that. But it's got all these jets, crazy, flying on and off, and that's cybersecurity, in real life. And we want to kind of pivot the industry from FUD to fun. So we know what FUD is, but let me throw this question to you. What is fun for you?
What is fun? Well, joking around, making things like just light. That's my attitude in pretty much almost everything I do. Like everything you give me that's like has a lot of details and very complicated, I just take it and just like spread it. And okay, now we can talk. So that's my attitude about everything, and that's how I make things fun. I just it doesn't have to be this heavy. Everything's cool. We can deal with it. It's okay.
And one of the other interesting things that I had the privilege of listening and learning about from a friend of the show, Davina Pruitt-Mental, who's the Chief Academic Officer of the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education under NIST, is that there are actually 57 different career paths in cybersecurity. So, building, Heather, on what you said earlier, that, kids have to have some type of guidance at 4th or 5th grade. What seems to happen, especially with women or young girls, is they kind of self-select out. Oh, I don't like coding, or I'm not good at tech. And I think one of the exciting opportunities is all these other, sorts of things that the industry needs. Communication, for example, like the three of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the end of the day, like all roles that you have in other companies, you can also have in cybersecurity. It just depends what you're interested in. Mm-hmm. I was always a tech geek, so I was always attracted to these type of companies. And if you can deal with like a lot of unknown things like hacking and ransomware, it just sounds like something that came out of movies, then yeah, I like it.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry. Sorry about the interruption. And Mintar, you've had a very interesting path to come to this moment. Why don't you share with our audience a little bit about your origin story?
Okay, that's long. I'll try to make it short. I was sort of born on stage. My dad is an actor. I've been acting since I was 6 years old. But while I was an actress and I was a performer, I was also a tech geek. When I wasn't on stage, I was behind a computer. So there were always these two worlds that like existed in my life. And when I got to the age of 18 and I went to the army like we do in Israel, I got into this elite tech unit called A200, where I realized that I can combine these two worlds in the world of training, where you basically take everything I knew. I loved learning. I always just love diving into a lot of different material and use it to perform, to teach other people and make it fun for them. It made me smile when I saw them smiling. And that's where I realized I have the passion for training. And I continue with acting and I continue with everything else, but I found out it's like, it's just a great thing to do. And then I became a technical trainer. After I finished the army, I became a technical trainer for different companies. I trained a lot of places in the world. If it's North America, South Africa, Europe, I got to do a lot. And I was only 22 at that stage.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I want to focus more on my acting. So I'm going to do more acting. And then I became a filmmaker and a scriptwriter. And then I went back to tech. So when I got into this, and this is what, like, we're talking about the channel, and it was just an opportunity for me to pretty much express everything I already did. Like, I get to write the scripts, I get to produce it, I get to direct it, I get to act in it. I'm the presenter. And I also have a complete creative approach. So I take this topic that some people think it's like, it's not very interesting or it's too complicated to think about. And I'm like, how can I make it fun? You know, that's the first question I think every time I start to write something. How do I make it fun? How do I make it something that I will enjoy? If I was watching it, what would make it fun for me? So I add colors and I add things popping everywhere and I add, yeah, exactly. So you understand. So this is it. This is what makes it.
Well, just as an expression, of that, how you and I came together is because, I saw one of your videos. Let's take a look at a little clip now so the audience can see some of your creativity in action.
Yo, dude, I just bought this new thing called Bitcoin. It's so awesome.
I don't know, Brian. A computer-generated money? Sounds like a weird thing to me. I should have listened to Brian. As you know, cryptocurrency has been on the rise for the last few years, and you probably heard some people say it's the best investment you can do. And how can you deny something that Elon Musk keeps tweeting about? But what you might don't know is that cryptocurrency is also a favorite money transfer method for cybercriminals and specifically ransomware gangs. And some say that it's the main cause for the dramatic increase in ransomware attacks and cryptocurrency should be banned completely. Well, in reality, ransomware was around before cryptocurrency was even available. In fact, the first known ransomware attack was initiated in 1989 by an aid researcher who carried out the attack by distributing 20,000 floppy disks that contained malware demanding payment of $189. Different world, huh? And even after that, as technology evolved, there were more and more ransomware attacks. Back then, the hackers demanded their money using methods like PayPal, wire transfer, or shell companies. These methods weren't the greatest for hackers because they required some sort of identification. That's why, when Bitcoin emerged in 2008, it was a game changer for ransomware. The decentralized cryptocurrency provided a new, mostly anonymous system for transferring money.
I mean, how cool is that? A round of applause from our audience, even though maybe they can't hear it. But and that's just a snippet. Where can people go to hear and see more of your videos, Mintar?
So the channel is called Ransomware Today. You can find it on YouTube. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Mintars Story, and I post everything there. Also, I engage a lot with my audience, so I want to hear what do you want the new videos to be about. If there's something that you're interested in, I'll be happy to hear. Because in the end of the day, everything you see is like, it's pretty much a one-woman show. I write it all, I edit it, I produce it, I do it all. So it's fun for me when I get the engagement from the audience, because then I'm also able to give something.
Well, I mean, we love that. And speaking of ransomware, this is one of our characters, Wilbur WannaCry, where we anthropomorphize exactly what you attempt, what you're showing in your stuff. So we have that in common. And many in our audience know that we're putting the final touch on the Cyber Hero Network, which is going to be a portal for many cool things in cybersecurity. And Our vision is to have a network where thought leaders like you can have shows within our network, and we can amplify it and get it out distributed and really just 10x, great work like what you're doing. So I won't put you on the spot by asking you now, but I hope you'll at least consider, being part of our network, at some point down the road.
Let me think about it.
Okay, that's evil. You shouldn't do that, man. Anyways, so Heather, what do you think about Mintars? She's started, so young at like 22 years of age. She's, bubbly. She's, like a triple threat, quadruple threat, I guess. I mean, are you inspired by her? Because I am.
Absolutely, and I think, you glossed over her superpower, which she conveys complex information in very easy to understand ways. And in fact, one of the challenges is, as she knows, is it comes across so easy to talk about and you immediately understood it. But the amount of work that she has done behind the scenes, doing the research, the fact checking, the writing, the rewriting, how many times they're shot, the editing, that's what's so incredible about what she's doing. And in fact, some of the challenges, I think, when you have storytellers like her, is that people think, oh, she just got up and recorded it and
exactly.
Right out. And while I would love to be that eloquent, we know that there are multiple scripts that were written to hone in on exactly that message. And the amount of work that she undertakes in making that short video is astonishing, and a full round of applause for what she has done and making cybersecurity so accessible for people who aren't attending a gazillion conferences every year.
Yeah, indeed. And, to build on that further, just prior to the show, she and I were talking, and I gave her like a little sneak peek into something that maybe, this is a great destiny thing that I have, two brilliant, people with me on the show. Let's take a look at a prototype. This is Phoebe the Fisher. We did a joint venture with an Israeli cybersecurity firm to take our characters and bring them into 3D training with disposable goggles that, make it highly interactive and things like that. And so as it happens, our team has just begun the process recently of writing a script for Phoebe, the purpose of which is to simplify what it means to work anywhere and how to be cyber safe. Let's take a look.
I'm Phoebe Fisher. The Fisher hunts its prey by pretending to be legitimate communication from a trusted company or from the hijacked identity of a friend, colleague, or family member. Using one of many ruses, the Fisher encourages the potential victim to divulge sensitive information such as login IDs, passwords, PINs, social security numbers, etc. This information is quickly used to steal money from accounts and to apply for fraudulent loans and credit cards.
So that's Phoebe. When she's done, she'll have a harpoon for whale fishing, for sea level people. She'll have a spear for targeted spear fishing, and she'll have a fishing rod for kind of spray and pray. So, the creative manifestation is designed to visually and then through script describe what, to how to avoid, being fished, as an example, and stuff like that. Heather, I asked this of Mintars earlier because I know the CEO of her company has been on my show a couple times. And would you also consider maybe helping us with a script, a 90-second script? Would you at least, I'm not going to put you on the spot, although I just did. Would you be kind enough to consider?
I would absolutely consider. And because I think what's important is to advance people's knowledge of cybersecurity, and probably not for those of us in the InfoSec industry, but for those of us who are in the rest of our lives and the people that we, are in our families and friends, and that we work in coming up with creative ways to tell the story of InfoSec, to tell the world that we live in every day in a way that's inspiring and awesome and cool, and captures their imagination.
Indeed. And so as we're wrapping up, Mintar, do you have any kind of last thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience?
I think it's incredible what we're doing here. Honestly, it's like when I just started learning cybersecurity, the people I learned from were, well, they talk a lot. And it was so hard to understand. And I think the fact that we're making it fun, we're making it engaging, we're making it into something that like a kid that is in the age of 4 or 5 can understand. I mean, that's a dream coming true. And like, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. It's a real team effort. I'm the one who's just sitting here, doing the show, but we have a great group of, we call them defenders of the digital universe. There are about 15 really big thought leaders. You had mentioned Heather Chase Cunningham. Tell him he knows I'm a giant fan of him. He just wrote a beautiful book called Cyber Warfare, and I mean, he's like a real deal. And just prior to taping our think tank, he said, I can only stay on for 30 minutes because I have a call with DOD. And I said, okay. And then he said, you're going to be hearing a big announcement, watch television. I said, I've never had a scoop. Come on, man. What is it? And he goes, sorry. So I've been watching, but he does good for this country, as do everyone in our audience and the people that, we have the privilege to hang out with.
Well, and I just want to say that one of the things with Mintar and myself is it's wonderful to see women, which is really, there are not a ton of us out there in the InfoSec world, out there telling these stories. I feel proud that my nephew learned about cybersecurity from his aunt. But the other part of it for both Mintar and myself is the commitment, as we say, to bring other women and young women along with us, and bringing them into cybersecurity, which was why my second book was dedicated to that story, but also to showcase the smart, successful, awesome women in this space like Mintar, and continuing to bring those up with us.
Yeah, right on. And we're besides having 2 lovely daughters and a wonderful better half. Half our characters are women, half of them are diverse. I think we're doing the first LGBTQ character soon. We have a disabled veteran, so we're all about D&I for sure. And so let me show you something that, if I can ask our team to pop it up, that we were talking earlier about education. So I mentioned earlier that I was really kind of humbled to be asked to give, I'll use air quotes, a graduation speech to kids in high school who are matriculating to cybersecurity. Take a look.
The clock is ticking down. The pressure is on. Decisions need to be made. Will their efforts be enough? Hello, everyone. My name is Greg Simmons. I'm the sports director and sports anchor for KSAT 12 in San Antonio, Texas. It is my honor to be your master of ceremonies for the 3rd annual National Cyber Signing Day. Every day, a team of professionals prepares to defend themselves against opponents who never quit. The playing field is never equal, and the threats are ever evolving. This is bigger than sports. This is cybersecurity.
Hello, I'm Davina Pruitt-Mental, and I serve as the lead for academic engagement for the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, or the NICE Program Office. On behalf of the NICE program, we are thrilled to congratulate the participating students in the 2020 National Cybersecurity Signing Day celebration.
Thanks, Davina. First up, Emily Moody. Emily is a 12th grader at New Century Technology High School in Huntsville, Alabama. She's a leader of the high school's Cyber Patriots team and also loves to compete in Cyber Skyline Capture the Flag competition.
I am Latasha McCord, the Cybersecurity K-12 Education Program Lead. On behalf of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, I would like to congratulate these students who have committed to entering the cybersecurity workforce.
Hi everyone, I'm the unsung cyber hero, and I represent all of the real-life cyber heroes who are the defenders of the digital universe. They toil in anonymity to keep us safe at work, at home, and at school. Congratulations to each and every one of you for the great achievements and accomplishments that you have made and will continue to make. as you pursue the coolest education and career as future defenders of the digital universe. Wherever you are on your digital journey, such as beginning an internship or apprenticeship, you should know that you are on a mission that is one of the most important, meaningful, and gratifying things that you can do with your entire life. Think about it. You are helping people stay safe online now and for future generations. Now, I'd like to show you the source of my superpowers. Yes, I'm actually a regular person. And I just want to take this time to say a special thank you to your parents and teachers and mentors and everyone who has helped you arrive at this important moment. You want to see the source of my superpower? I'll show you. Lifelong learning. These are conference badges. In the last 3 years, I've been to over 53 cybersecurity conferences and had the privilege of listening and learning from the smartest people in the world. And at 63 years of age, I got my very first certification. So I know that by the time you're my age, you're going to have a lot more of these. And congratulations on that. Welcome to the digital universe. We need you right now.
Yep. So other than that, nothing going on. My wife thinks I'm nuts, by the way. I mean, just in case you don't know that. And I may be, but I'm a nut on a mission. And with folks like you, in support of this mission and your way of expressing it, I think we have a pretty good chance of prevailing. So Heather, how do people get a copy of the comic, or can people get in touch with you on LinkedIn or website, that kind of thing?
So I'm on LinkedIn. The books CYNJA are available on Amazon. They're also Kindle, Apple Books, your favorite ebook publisher has copies. And you can also order the Cincha Field Instruction Manual if you want to put your cyber superpowers to the test, which I think I called coloring book workbook, but field instruction. I've been
coloring book.
Or it's a much more cool, awesome way to describe a coloring book.
Yeah, I believe that. So that would be cool. Any chance I might be able to get one?
Absolutely. I can drop one in the mail.
All right. So stay on afterwards. And, I'm not joking. I would love to color this stuff. It'd be too fun. We'll put it on a show in some way, And actually, what crossed my sort of evil part of my mind, I can have one of our artists do it, and I'll go, oh, here's a little something I did, but I won't do that. That's fraud, not good in cybersecurity. But speaking of good in cybersecurity, I want to put this up here. Basically, it's a lot of information there, but we're launching our next micro think tank on July 15th. These are with global thought leaders. We use something called the wisdom of the crowd, where we have just a short keynote speech, and then everyone works the issue, and then they do teach outs, and then we do videos to debrief in furtherance of helping the community. So if it's something you want to sponsor or be part of, I'd love to have you, as on board. That would be great. And then last but not least, I want to say a special, thank you to our sponsor, Scott Schober. He's made all this popular. He's just this unbelievably great guy, a real thought leader in cybersecurity. He's written these 3 books. And by the way, for our audience, last week we launched the Cyber Hero Book Club, which turned out to be a big hit because lots of people in this industry write books. So other than that, nothing going on. And so on behalf of a grateful digital universe, to Heather and Mintars, thank you so much for who you are and what you're doing. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.